Hello viewers, today we're going to be repairing a damaged power cord. This got cut as I was trying to open the package, so we're going to mend this back together. It should be fairly simple. This wire, as most wires are, is labeled. So we have one side that has writing on it and one side that does not. So what we have to do when we mend it back together is we're going to match the wiring so that the polarity is the same, so the writing side goes back to the writing side. Now in this case it happened to be cut at an angle, so you can kind of see how it goes regardless, but you don't always have that luxury. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to strip these wires back. So I'm going to cut in between the wires here like this, well, just a little bit so I can start pulling it back. Okay, and then over here we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut in about 1/4 of an inch or so just to get it apart and then pull it back. Now I'm going to strip it about maybe about a 1/2 inch in, a little less than a 1/2 inch on both sides. And this is a stranded cable, so I'm going to kind of twist the wire together as I pull the ends off. That'll make a nice clean situation, because otherwise all these strands here will separate and it gets kind of messy. Now that's rather uneven, but well, doesn't matter. So let's see here. As long as it meets up, it'll be fine. It's got to meet up evenly. So before I match the wires together, I'm going to put some string tubing on here. I'm going to use 2 different pieces. The first piece I'm going to use is going to be a bigger piece that's going to go over both sides of the connection. I'm going to use the whole piece for this. And then for each individual wire, I'm going to take one of these small ones here, and that should be adequate to cover that. Okay, so we have our 2 pieces here that'll cover each individual connection, and then we have this piece which will go over both of the connections to make it a more clean transition from one cord to the other. So now let's take a look here. We have this side with the writing on it, and we have the other side with the writing on it, and we're going to match these 2 sides together. And I'm going to kind of twist them together like this so that we have a good physical connection here as well. And we want these to meet up so that there's not an imbalance of length. We want the length on each side to be the same, and we're not quite there. See, this junction is a little bit too short, or a little bit too long rather. I'll try to twist that a little bit closer, and there we go. That's pretty good. They're about the same. Okay, so now I gotta get a couple more things out. My bench has got a carpet covering on it, so I like to work with a soldering iron on top of a piece of granite here, just because if the solder falls on the carpet you can't get it off. I got some solder here, and we're just going to go over here and just kind of fill in this connection here with the solder. have to use very much. That's adequate as it is there. And we'll do the same thing down here. Okay. So that should be it for the soldering. Clean the iron off. And now we're going to move the shrink tubing over the connections like this. Keep going. Here we go. Okay, so now we have that, and we're going to shrink this down now. Ideally you'd use some kind of a heat gun, but I'm just going to do this. This will work fine. And this just takes a minute or two to shrink down. Okay. Now with those two made, we're going to take the longer piece here and push this over. Hopefully this will fit. It's going to be a close, very tight fit, but I think it'll go. Yeah, it's going, but it's real tight. Jeez, I guess I should have used the bigger one. Let's see if this will go or not. Yeah, this is a bit too small for the application, but I think I'll be able to get it. Just a little bit more. Okay, it's just over it. I think that's over enough. So now it's one piece. I'll shrink this piece down here. Don't cause any more damage. Almost damage that part of the wire. Let this shrink. Okay, I think we're going to call that done. It looks pretty good, and the wire is now functional again.